We think about life in this very abstract sense of we got all these years, and I'm telling you, don't be scared of like, oh, why would he talk about death? No, because death is a part of life. We got a certain amount of time to do the things we want to do.
Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve.
Welcome to the Dream Big and Think Different podcast, where we inspire, impact, and empower.
Progress is impossible if you always do things the way you have always done things.
It's time to dream big. Here's your host, Dr. Sachin Maskey.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Dream Big and Think Different podcast, where our mission is to inspire, impact, and empower millions of people. I'm a host, Dr. Sachin Maskey, and today we have a very, very special guest, and I'm very thrilled to have Maurice Philogene in our podcast, who is another dreamer and has a very, very inspiring story we all need to hear and learn. I'm very honored, again, privileged to have you in our show, and very excited to have you in our podcast today. How are you doing, Maurice, today, and how's life?
I was just joking around with you, brother, before, right? You and I woke up this morning, we're breathing, so life is good. I go from there and everything else is fine. So I'm good, man. I'm glad to be here with you.
Absolutely. Again, welcome to our show, and I'm very super pumped and excited to have you in our show. Before I start, I'm gonna go start with a brief bio about Maurice, and we're gonna start interviewing him and learn about him and what I've done so far. So he's a real estate investor, entrepreneur, restaurant owner, explorer of 100 countries, and he has visited more than 300 times. He's a public servant. He's a police officer, philanthropist, lifestyle designer, wealth coach. He's a founding managing member, partner of Quattro Capital, with a passion for living life leveraging freedom principle, which we're going to talk about today. Maurice used real estate and professional career to generate passive income and build legacy, all while empowering communities and helping others live their best life now through the lifestyle design. With that, today we're going to talk about, again, welcome to our show. And my first question I asked all my guests, Maurice, is who is Maurice and why he's in this world?
Who is Maurice? Listen, man, gosh, I'll just tell you who I am right now. I am 47 years old. I'm going to be 48 next week. I'm a very happy 48-year-old guy. I'm no longer in the traditional work world, and I'll explain why. But I'm a Haitian immigrant, come from a Haitian immigrant family. I was born in New York, raised in Boston, got to Washington, D.C. by way of University of Virginia. From a professional perspective, on traditional profession route, I was a IT consulting executive for 25 years with Accenture. I was a police officer for 15 years with a county police department in the Washington, D.C. area. And I was also in the United States military as lieutenant colonel and federal agent for 22 years. I did all those careers parallel to each other. But while I was doing them all, and there's reasons why I did that, and that dovetails perfectly into dreaming big and thinking different, which I'll explain later. But while I was doing the whole thing, I was in a pursuit for freedom. And when I say freedom, I mean being able to do what I want, when I want, how I want. Real estate empowered that, but lifestyle design empowered that.
Absolutely.
I've always been a traveler. I've always immersed in culture, and I call myself a global citizen. So that is Maurice in a nutshell.
Sure. Yeah, thank you for sharing that quick intro by yourself. And amazing, you're doing so many things. You've achieved so many things in life. I want to go back to your childhood. Think about as I said, you said you're born in New York, correct? So I just want to ask you. So what was when you were, around, I don't know, when you started thinking about dreaming big and all that, what was your childhood dream? What do you wanted to be when you were a child, when you're a kid?
Man, listen, so I was born in New York, but I was really raised in Boston because I got to Boston when I was age 5, and I was there from 5 to 18. Sports was everything for me. I mean, that's what my community, that's what the brothers I used to hang out with, everyone was really thinking about playing basketball or playing football. That was kind of the way out, if you will. So I remember kind of dreaming about that. I would watch Yo MTV Raps, sit in my driveway at the house, and he'd like, "Oh, I'm going to be a superstar somehow." I just didn't know what it was going to be. There was something that
Absolutely.
changed that. The thing that changed it, two things changed my trajectory in terms of dreaming big and thinking different. One, believe it or not, the Cosby Show. If you remember the Cosby Show, because that was the first time I ever saw a black family in that light outside of my family, meaning Cliff Huxtable was a doctor, Claire Huxtable was a lawyer. They were very particular about their kids' education. No one was talking about
Yep.
sports as a way out. People were talking about education, and that's how my
Absolutely.
father was. So it was nice to see that. And then the second thing that happened, which totally changed the trajectory of my life, my father sent me to France when I was 15 years old, and I spent a month with an exchange student who stayed with me the previous summer, and his dad drove us around France for 30 days in an old Range Rover, and I got to experience so much. French funeral, French wine, French weddings, culture, Boy Scouts, etc. And it just opened my brain up to the fact that the world was a lot bigger than Boston. The world was a lot bigger than where I roamed in the city, right? So that started me down this trajectory of wanting to experience people and culture all over the world. Hence, I've been to 98 countries almost 400 times, and I'm still going.
Wow. Wow. And that's pretty interesting. Like how are you able to travel 98 to almost 100 countries and do all the things you're doing? That's super interesting and super amazing. I just wanted to, I mean, you must have some already asked a lot of times the same question, but I mean, one of my dream is to also travel one country every year, and it's hard, to be on practically, since I'm trying to figure out from you and learn from you how you're able to do that.
Well, a couple things. One, I am very intentional about life. Meaning, so when I worked for that consulting firm, the best way I would have broken through climb the corporate ladder, if you will, was maintain my current role or the role that I had in Washington, D.C. and sell stuff and build accounts and all that. But I didn't do that. I created a role and presented it to someone to support. And I was like, listen, if I create this role for you and generate this revenue for you, I want to be able to work virtually. I want to be able to work with all these teams around the world, because what I wanted was not the promotions. What I wanted was the experiences and the relationships that travel would give me. So that's one thing.
Absolutely.
When I was in the military, I became a federal agent specifically because I knew I'd be all over the world running field offices. That's another thing. And then outside of regular work, I always have traveled. I will do things like leave Washington, D.C. on a Wednesday night or a Thursday night after work, run to Helsinki, Finland for the weekend, and come back on Monday and go to work. Instead of blowing my money out at the bars in DC, I was always using money to go have some experience somewhere around the world unapologetically. I just kept going and building relationships and building opportunities. And it might be expensive at the beginning, but once you get good at travel hacking and once you build relationships with people, you end up staying at their house. You end up knowing how to do things on the cheap. You end up knowing how to use points. It just gets easier over time. So when people think all of my quote unquote travel is extraordinary, I'm like, no, it's very ordinary to me. Like I may on Tuesday get on a plane and go back to the Mediterranean. I don't know, but I just know that the world for me is very small. I've made it very small in that I can go anywhere at any time.
Wow. So when did you start traveling? Like, is there any point of life you started thinking, I want to travel 100 countries, or something came to your mind, or you
No,
just started traveling?
I just started. I mean, as soon as I got my first paycheck when I was 21, travel became a part of my life.
Wow.
And
That's
I'm not
amazing.
trying to see all 175 countries in the world. I have zero interest in that. I tend to go back to the same places over and over and over again. Right now, my two countries that I'm in all the time, I'm in Germany, somewhere in Middle Europe, uh, Lebanon in the Mid East, and then I go to Cyprus. I'm doing some stuff in Cyprus. So I tend to roam in those areas. But no, man, I
Okay.
just started in my 20s and I've never stopped. I really enjoy immersing in culture because when you do, it's constant learning. I know DC.
Absolutely.
I'm not learning anything in DC right now relative to culture, but
Absolutely.
I like to go to other places to immerse myself.
That's amazing. So tell me more about what you do, what you're doing in the Mediterranean area. What kind of stuff you're
Hmm.
doing there?
Yeah. So my as I told you, I've had that professional journey. Those journeys are over. I retired from pretty much everything in 2020, in 2021, roughly. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but real estate has been a constant with me. I've always invested in real estate. I was buying single family homes forever. Then with Quattro Capital, I started syndicating apartment complexes. So the single family was my financial freedom journey. Then I moved on to
Mm-hmm.
Quattro Capital, syndicating apartment complexes to help other people achieve financial freedom. My third
Absolutely.
real estate life, I'm developing property in Cyprus, in the Mediterranean. That was not
Wow.
for money. That was not for money. That was because I wanted a different lifestyle. I know the East Coast. I've been in the East Coast 40 years. I'm good. I wanted to, before I punch off this planet, be a part of a different community. But I don't want to like go there and be the American dude that sits in a restaurant and leaves. That's not what I wanted. What I wanted to be was part of the community. In 2015, when I was running a field office as a federal agent in Western Turkey. Okay, that city is
Mm-hmm.
called Izmir, Turkey. It's on the Aegean Sea, but if you go a little bit further south, it's on the Mediterranean. And I fell in love with the area. I said out
Absolutely.
loud, with intention, I'm going to live and work here somewhere. I don't know how, when it's going to happen. And in late 2020, I was talking with a friend, and she reminded me that someone we went to college with, her husband is Cypriot from Cyprus,
Mm-hmm.
and he's a real estate developer. And my brain went off. I was on the phone with him maybe 2 weeks later, and then as soon as COVID, uh, the airports opened after COVID, I was in his living room
Right.
a couple days after the airports opened.
Yeah.
We became friends. I invested in some stuff that he's doing. We're now business partners. I'm now on my third development project there. I'm building my own house there. Lebanon is a 30-minute flight away, and I spend a lot of time there. So it's just my neighborhood now. See, I created a lifestyle for myself, but as a business person, so I can do something for the community there, and I'm part of philanthropy stuff there. But everybody thinks real estate and investing is about money. It's not about money all the time. Sometimes it's about a life-related goal that you want to achieve. Now, my Haitian
Mm-hmm.
immigrant family owns a lot of property on a Mediterranean island. Like, how could it be any better?
Sure, sure. That's amazing, and I think you're balancing so many things, and it's amazing that how you're able to achieve that. I wish you all the success and good luck for you, whatever you do, and it's amazing,
Thank you, man.
you know. Absolutely. So, going back to your childhood again, I want to figure out, since we're talking about travel now, again, the question was, you grew up in Boston, correct? And you're born in New York,
Yeah.
grew up in Boston. You went to college in Boston?
No, I went to University of Virginia.
Oh, University of Virginia. Okay. So, and then you're in the DC area, which is Maryland, correct?
By way of UVA, because that consulting firm hired me right out of college, and I was always based in
Uh-huh.
the DC area.
Okay. So I want to talk about more real estate journey you started with back in, believe in
Yeah.
2003. You started, my question is, what led you to decide to go to the real estate? And what was your, initial day challenges? If somebody wants to start,
Yeah.
now real estate, what would be your advice?
Yeah, man. The thing that got me to real estate was, remember that trip I told you I took when I was 15 years old to
Yep.
France? I love
Yes.
that.
Yes.
That trip, because it proved to me that life was more than just what I knew. When I was 21, by happenstance, I picked up the book Personal Finance for Dummies, if you remember that series of books. And I
I
found
have
the
not read
phrase
that
in there.
book, but I've heard that.
It's good. It's actually a very foundational book. I didn't want
Okay.
I sensed myself starting to mess up with credit cards and stuff like that. So I just picked it up and I read it, and it had a passage in there on passive income, and something
Absolutely.
dawned on me. So I was like, man, so you're telling me that I can create income without having to physically be somewhere, and it just keeps coming? So, and if that's the case, that means you have time. And if you have time, then I could go back to
Absolutely.
the time when I was 15 and had all those wonderful experiences. So it all clicked to me. I was like, I got to make passive income. All right. So that happened. And then in 2003, I
Hmm.
bought a place to live, just a place to live. Like, I was a young professional. I was just trying to find a place to live. And it just so happened to be at the beginning of the boom cycle in 2000s. The place next door, same floor plan, sold for $30,000 more 3 months later. My father explained equity to me. I went to the library
Okay.
because I didn't know what the hell equity was at all. Picked up a bunch of business books, and then by the end of the year, I had bought 10 more properties. I was stunned that no one
Wow.
explained to me in college and high school that I could make someone's salary in a transaction. I was dumbfounded by it. So I just started self-educating, buying condos, paying them off over the years. I got up to 35 single-family homes. Some of them appreciated, so I sold the ones that appreciated. I paid off the other ones with the equity plus my paychecks over the years and all that type of stuff. I was very systematic. And by 2014, I started in 2003, 2014, I had 18 paid off places paying about 160 grand a year. That's how I did it. I was just very methodical and kept paying it off. I just wouldn't waste my money on things.
Wow, that's amazing, man. That's a really inspiring story. I have a similar story
Yeah.
that I wanted this synergy there. You know, I picked up a book from Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad and Poor Dad, and
Of course, of
you
course.
know that book changed my mindset. And you're right. The passive income is the word I was not aware of, like, too, myself. You know, I am from Nepal originally, born and raised. You know, I
Yep.
came to this country, a beautiful country of the United States, you know, in 2006. But
Yep.
but after fast forward 2018, that's the time I started learning about actually the passive income and the financial freedom, and that led me to what I'm doing now. Starting my own fund. But that's amazing that you just mentioned 2003 and 2014. You're earning under 60,000 passively. Wow, that's
Yeah.
mind blowing, man.
Well, but here's the
And
thing I want to tell people. Like, if you do that, the way that I did it, so, I found, okay, I got 18 paid off places. I think what many people would have done would have been cash in those places and go get some bigger asset. I think many people would have done that. But this is the point I was trying to make to you at the beginning when we were talking offline, that everything to me is about life and lifestyle. So if I have
absolutely,
18 paid off assets paying 160 grand and that covers my basic day-to-day needs and a bit more, why would I trade that in?
yeah.
I still live off that money. Right? It's the basic stuff. So no, I think about things different. I achieved the goal of being able to live and being able to provide for my then one son, but I have another son now too. So all of that, it's protected. I don't sell it. It's still there. It's still cash flows. The rents have gone up over the years, but I'm so good to my residents. I think like my average resident has been with me for 7 years, which is unheard of because I keep taking
Wow.
care of them and reinvesting in the places and all that type of stuff. I'm very proud of it. But from there, I started doing mobile home parks, apartment complexes, because I needed growth. I needed to learn. I wasn't learning
Sure.
anything by still buying single family homes, but I never
Hmm.
cashed in everything I did. I just started from the ground up again. And now I've
Hmm.
done, before Quattro, I did 8 apartment complexes and mobile home parks. And then with Quattro, I've done 30. So it's been a hell of a ride.
Absolutely, absolutely. So my next question was actually going back to Quattro Capital, and I
Mm-hmm.
guess when did you start it in Quattro Capital? What do you guys do now in Quattro?
We started, we closed our first deal together in January of 2020. So we're going on
Okay.
three and a half years now. So that first deal, I was a sponsor. I had a bit of net worth, but frankly, I was kind of new to the space too. It was a 36 unit in Tennessee. We're actually selling it now, but it was a 36 unit for about 3 million. I think we're going to sell it for like 4.5 or 4.6 or something like that. And
Okay.
then, we've just been on a tear. Like I told you, we've done 30 deals, raising for each deal independently. So we're doing a fund now. You were talking about funds. We're doing a
Yeah.
non-property specific fund now, but everything else
Oh,
has
really?
been syndications, yeah, related to property.
So what is the fund about? Can you tell more about it?
Well, yeah, the fund is about reacting to what's happening in the market. I mean, the market is crazy right now relative to real estate because interest rates are so high. With interest rates being
Absolutely.
so high, and the Fed, what, we went up another quarter point today. This is the highest it's been in 22 years. Um,
Yeah.
liquidity is very tight right now, and lenders aren't really lending the way they used to. Money is kind of locked in a way.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
when you get a loan to buy a property, part of the loan is the draw. The draw just means, for those who are listening, that's the money that is already approved, but the bank wants you to do certain things to get that money so you can go do the renovations. You need to do the renovations to improve the residents' quality of life, but to get the rent up, to get investors' rates of return, et cetera, et cetera. But the draws are stuck. The lenders are being very, very picky right now. So we created a
Mm-hmm.
fund because we need other options. We want to be the bank. I don't want to have these lender problems anymore, right? So I can give
Yeah.
investors 8% compounded over 3 years, so it ends up being something like 12% annually or something like that. And we'll use that money to take over the draws, or we'll use it to buy property or something like that, something else. But transacting over properties right now is a very big challenge because of what's going on in the financial market. So we're just going to be our own bank.
Yeah, absolutely. Cash is king. That's what I tell all the time. When you have
Cash
those
is king,
fund,
brother.
and absolutely, you can do a lot of powerful things. So you guys are focused on apartments only, or value add, or you do ground up? What kind of strategy you guys have?
We're Quattro right now. I mean, we call ourselves an alternative investment firm, but our main focus is value add multifamily. But
Okay.
we're starting to move away from C. We've moved away from C class. We want higher
Okay.
quality assets. So think B to A minus, right? So our typical deal is like 240. Our last deal was 240 units, $38 million purchase, raised 17 million. Um, Depending on how everything goes, we'll get the value of that property up to somewhere in the $60 million range in a few years. Um, but yeah, typically value add apartment, and the goal for us is to have our investors' money double in 5 years or less. So we're trying to get them 20% average annual return, or about a 17% IR, depending on what's going on with the capital stack.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's amazing, man. So yeah, wish
Hmm.
you good luck again. And Quattro Capital, it's amazing, guys. You should go to the
Yeah.
website and take a look what they have been doing.
Yep. Come
And
check us out.
absolutely. So the main topic of today, I want to dive in now is Maurice's favorite topic is try life on. I want to know why
Hmm.
you started this and what is the mission behind it.
It's yes. Try Life On. You can check it out at trylifeon.com. When I told you about my professional and personal journey, everything from IT executive, street cop, federal agent. I've acted on movies and TV shows. I tried to open coffee
Oh,
shops that failed.
that
I'm
I didn't
owner of
know. Acting.
yeah, yeah. It's out there. I did an HBO thing recently. Um,
Oh, wow.
Tried out for the NFL a couple times. Now I'm developing on a Mediterranean island. Listen, I'm not trying to do everything in the world. That's not what I'm suggesting with Try Life On. But what I am telling people is that you can try life on at any time. You can make your extraordinary ordinary at any time.
Yes.
There are
Yeah.
frameworks by which you can do it. It's just that after 20 to 30 years of formal education and how we are traditionally raised, especially by immigrant parents, you and I, we are
Yeah.
taught that we go to school, we be compliant, we compete with each other, and then we get into the
Yeah.
work world and we blindly compete for these titles: manager, senior manager, executive vice president, CEO. And that blind forward, I'm just going to go do this. We're missing all this life out here. So the
Absolutely.
best one of the examples I gave you before, which now will make more sense to you, it's like my boss at my consulting firm saying, "Look, if you don't keep this role, your trajectory in the company is not going to be upwards. Why would you go do a
Hmm.
role international when you can do a role right here and get promoted?" And I said, "Because I'm not interested in your version of success. I'm interested in mine.
Absolutely.
I wanted to be
Yep.
around the world doing things, right?" So the notion of try
Yep.
life on is to help people understand that they can try life on at any time. If you want to do certain things in your life, then you just have to understand what the
Hmm.
blocker is to getting to that thing, create the action items to get over the blocker, typically find a who has already done it and attack that issue. It took me, relative to the Mediterranean, it took me 18 months to become a Mediterranean real estate developer because I found the right person who had already done it, right?
Absolutely.
You can try life on at any time. I'm currently executive producing 2 TV shows.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't take me very long to figure it out, right? And we're going to try and sell them to a couple streamers here in a little bit. I found the right person. I found the blocker to getting it done. I'm trying life on in different ways. I don't want someone else's version of success. Most people want to be mobile around the world to do different things, yet why are you having a job that's forcing you to sit on K Street in Washington, D.C. every day eating Subway sandwiches for lunch? Why?
Mm-hmm.
Reorient. Get a virtual job. COVID changed the game. Come try
Yep.
Life On. So Try Life On is me doing one-on-one lifestyle design coaching with people. Of course, time freedom, financial freedom, geographic freedom, freedom to execute your purpose, and freedom to build meaningful relationships are the pillars of it. And it's been fantastic. And it's not something that I thought of. It was people reaching out to me and asking me to coach them. And I was like, okay, well, I guess I can. What are you looking for? They're like, we're looking for a mobile lifestyle and trying different things the way that you've done it. Like, oh, okay.
Okay.
So then over a year and a half, I formalized it. And now I've probably coached one-on-one, maybe, 105, 106 people at this point.
Oh, wow. Okay. So if
Mm-hmm.
people are interested, whoever listening or watching this and wanted to work with you, so what is
Yeah.
the process and timelines on this?
You just go to trylifeon.com or connect with me on LinkedIn or Instagram or something. But the website is trylifeon.com. And if it
Okay.
makes sense for you, I mean, it's a commitment, right? It's a financial commitment. It's a time commitment. I do a discovery call with people. I need to know that I can truly help. I'm not interested in just shoveling people through. I don't want that. So we do a
Yep.
discovery call. And if it makes sense for us to work together and we're a match, then we get going depending on my availability. I only do 10 people at a time because I'm available to my coaching students 24 hours a day for the stuff that we work on. And I have a bit of a waiting list, but I'm happy to talk with anyone with the goal being helping you build a framework for a lifestyle you don't need a vacation from. I don't take vacations anymore. I don't need to the way that I live.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. So I believe it's 12 weekly call, right?
You got it. Yeah.
For so 12 weekly call, and then you're available 24/7 by email if they have a questions and all that.
No email,
And
cell phone, direct.
okay. All right. So wow,
Mm-hmm.
that's
Mm-hmm.
amazing. So
Mm-hmm.
and then I guess what would be your ideal people that would be getting like help, or who would be your ideal student or whatever we call it? Yeah.
That's a good question. The funny thing is, I'm getting a lot of college graduates right now, and which
Oh,
is really
really?
interesting because because they're coming out of college and they're recognizing they don't want to sit their butt in an office for 20 years. And how do I do what you did, Maurice, but faster, right? Which is a
Absolutely.
beautiful thing.
Absolutely.
But my ideal person is probably some level of professional or executive who's been working for 10 to 15 years and who has something in their gut telling them that why am I still working this way? I am
Absolutely.
missing something. Life is passing me by, yet I'm still trying to be the executive vice president and not going home to see my kids at the end of the day, right? I help people
Sure.
reorient their lives very, very quickly.
Sure. So the person who want to desire growth, or they want to learn, and I think that would be the
Lifestyle.
ideal client, I believe.
The person who wants to
Yep. Yep.
plug into life and planet as we were originally intended and unplug from the matrix.
Absolutely. So, guys, yeah, this is a good opportunity to connect with Maurice. Trylifeon.com is the website. Please visit that, and you're gonna definitely make a lot of changes and growth in your life. So, my next question for Maurice would be for you. I know you
Mm-hmm.
do a lot of amazing things, and we all have somebody behind us, or I call it a mentor or whatever. But who and what inspires you and drives you to be productive every day?
Well, that has changed over the years. But to be honest,
Mm-hmm.
my first mentor was the Fairfax County, Virginia Library in Alexandria, Virginia, aisle 6. I'll never forget it because when I started my own personal growth journey and my desire to be free, there was
Absolutely.
no Google. There was no Google. There was no LinkedIn. I think Yahoo had just started. So all you
Oh
really
yeah.
had was books. Yeah, all you really had was books.
Yeah.
So books were my friend. And the first rental property that I ever bought, which was $90,000, a one-bedroom condo, I took a book from the library to the closing table and did what the book told me, and I signed the papers and I walked out.
Wow.
That was
That's
my
amazing, bro.
first. That was my first mentor. But over the years, you start to
Yeah,
realize how much self-education is a game changer. Okay. And what I do nowadays, because I
absolutely.
can afford it, is I pay for people's time. So, relative to Quattro Capital,
Absolutely.
we hired a business coach at significant expense because we're five professionals with 90 years of experience. We needed to understand our lanes within the company and how we were going to organize it and how it was going to support life. So we hired a business coach. When I was originally doing
Okay.
syndications, I hired a one-on-one coach as well. So
Okay.
they have come through. Um, but the biggest thing in all that, I'm a self-driven person. I'm up every day at 4 a.m. It's always
Hmm.
been my prime time. Even when I was a street cop and executive at the same time, you would see me, like I would go run a burglary call and then get back to the station at 2 a.m. and then I'd be looking for real estate on the MDT in the car, on the mobile computer in the car. Like I was always doing something relative to the journey. Because here's my
Yeah.
point
Yeah.
to that. People
Yeah.
say I don't have time, and I say you do. You just lack commitment to self. Because 4 a.m. to 8 a.m., that's 4 hours a day. If you do that 5 days a
Hmm.
week, that's 20 hours a week. That's 80 hours a month. That's 960 hours a year. That's 5.71 weeks that you're working on your goals. That's a month and a
Wow.
half. You add one more
I
4
know.
hour block on Saturday and Sunday, you've created a 14-month year.
Hmm.
I don't want to hear from people. When people tell me they don't have time, I'm like, yeah, you don't. You have time. You just lack commitment to yourself.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when people
Totally
talk
agree.
about mentors, you got to be your own best mentor to get after this stuff, right? And I'm not saying
Yeah.
everybody needs to get up at 4 a.m. That's not what I'm suggesting. But your time might be when I'm at work, I go in the car and I sit and I study from 12 to 1 p.m. Then I come home at 6 p.m. right after dinner. Then I'm reading a self-help book from 6 to 9 p.m. People have got to make time for themselves and don't be like, well, I
Sure.
don't have someone to teach me. You got to be self-driven too.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And how you manage your time, and I think taking a massive action, which you have done since you started reading the
Absolutely.
book, is two key aspect of your success and all those things. I really appreciate you
Yeah.
sharing that to me and our listener. That's amazing. Maurice, my next question is, what is your dream now at this point of your life?
My dream now. Well, brother, from a personal perspective, I have sensed for me that I'm moving into the fall of my life.
Hmm.
Right? I've done spring, I've done summer, I've built businesses, I've built net worth and balance sheet and have businesses and stuff like that. Now I just
Sure.
like giving back to people. I honestly do. I like coaching people. I like giving people a hand up in the real estate space, helping people with lifestyle design. I do a lot of philanthropy work, especially overseas. I have this philosophy, man, that my goal in life at this point is to make sure that when I die, whenever that is, God willing, that a
Hmm.
lot of people are bothered by it. If a
Hmm.
lot of people are bothered that they heard, man, you remember that dude, Mo? He was a really good dude. Then that means I helped a lot of people in some kind of way, whether it's being a police officer or in the military or financially doing philanthropy work that I do in the Mideast or helping people get their first real estate deal or being a good dad. I want a lot of people to be bothered when I pass away, which means I did good in the world before my time. That's honestly what I think about more than anything at this point in life is just giving back to people.
Yeah, that's absolutely true, and I have a similar principle that the secret of happiness in our life is to serve others, and exactly that's what
100%.
I'm in point of a life now, yeah, giving back
Yeah,
and making a contribution, and thank you for whatever you're doing. And we didn't deal much about your philanthropic work. Maybe we're gonna have another episode. I know you need to go in a few minutes, but I just want to ask you
okay.
two more quick question. What is the biggest
Sure.
win of your life, and how you define success?
You said the biggest win of my life?
Yes.
Yes. That's a great question. Uh, man, I've had a few, but the more I think about it, the more it boils back to not accepting status quo. not
Uh-huh.
accepting someone else's version of success as my own.
Uh-huh.
I wasn't interested in being CEO. I turned down the process for partner at my firm 4 times. That wasn't me. It wasn't me.
Mm-hmm.
I liked the fact that I understood at a very early age that status quo is a default language and you don't have to accept it if you don't want to, and I never have. I'm not interested in it. I'm not interested in people's opinions, and I'm not
Absolutely.
interested in competing with people. We were bred to
Mm-hmm.
compete. If you think about it, we were kindergartners, everything was creative, da da da. We get into grade school, now it's compliance. Johnny, sit forward. I'm going to tell your mom, take this note home. When we got to high school and college, things changed. Who's going to get
Uh-huh.
the AP classes? Who's going to be the MVP? Who's going to be the valedictorian? Who's going to be the prom king and queen? We were always competing with each other constantly. Then we get into the work world. It's the same thing. Who's going to be the
Mm-hmm.
analyst? Who's going to compete for the executive vice president position? Man, the
Yeah.
best thing I ever did for myself was recognize that none of that shit was going to make me happy. None of it. I wanted to be a
Right.
street cop by the time I died, so I did it at 33. I wanted to try out for the NFL, so I tried out at 21. I had the nerve at age 25 to go to grad school to play football to try and get another tryout for the NFL.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
I wanted to do life my way. So the biggest success for me, somehow 23-year-old Maurice was just not interested in status quo, and 47-year-old me thanks him every day for it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely. That's amazing, and what do you define your success as, like, the next question, biggest win and the success.
Happiness. Happiness. It
Okay.
ain't my balance sheet. It ain't how much weight I lost 35 pounds in the last year or so, like getting back on my fitness train. I'm back to deadlifting 500 pounds. You know, the funny thing is,
Wow.
in all the business success that I've had, and I'm not talking about money because I've had great business success being a police officer and helping my community and all that type of stuff, right? In all the professional
Sure.
and business success that I've had, the real goal of it all is to find your peace and happiness. And I'm getting
Absolutely.
extremely happy. I am happy. I don't need to build more business. If I make more money as a consequence of doing good and helping people, phenomenal. If my net
Mm-hmm.
worth goes up another 10 million because I help someone, great. But it ain't what I'm chasing, brother. What I'm
Absolutely.
chasing is life and really enjoying and meeting people like you and having worldly experiences, doing good by my kids. Happiness is the level of success. Don't chase somebody else's shit. Chase your own happiness.
I I love that. I love that. Totally agree with that. Happiness is ultimate success in our life. So we all need to,
Yeah.
live the best day of life every single day. Because tomorrow is not guaranteed.
Nope.
So I
Nope.
think my last question. I mean, we almost end of the show today, believe it or not. And my last question for today for you: where can people find you? And what is
Hmm.
the one thing you want to share to our listener before we leave?
Well, you can find me at trylifeon.com. We talked about that. Quattro Capital is my amazing
Sure.
team on the real estate side. I have 4 business partners that I love dearly. We are family operating as a business. We're not a business who says we're family. The website is The Quattro Way, QUATTROWAY, thequattroway.com. I'm very active on LinkedIn, talking about all the stuff that we're talking about today. Unapologetic about
Sure.
it, pretty much. And then you can find me on Instagram as well, where I kind of show people what I'm doing around the world and what have you. And I just want to remind people in the average lifetime, which is 80 years, that's 28,000
Hmm.
days. You got 28,000 days to do some magnificent shit on this planet. I'm 48. I got 10,500 and change left. I got no time to waste. We think about life in this very abstract sense of we got all these years, and I'm telling you, and don't be scared of like, oh, why would he talk about death? No, because death is a part of life. We got a certain amount of time to do the things we want to do. I highly encourage you guys go do them as much as you can, as fast as you can, and yeah, enjoy the ride.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, guess what? We only have one life.
Yeah, we only have
So
one
I
life. We
totally
only have one life. Yeah.
and totally agree. But amazing story, amazing, wisdom today. And I have learned so much from you, Maurice. Thank you so much for your time.
My
I really
pleasure. My
appreciate
pleasure.
what you have done and what you're doing, and all this Strive Live On. I would encourage everyone to go to the website. I've been already,
Yeah.
and it's amazing. And again, whoever is listening, watching today, I would appreciate if you can like and subscribe and share with your family so that we all can learn and grow. And again,
Awesome.
thank you so much, Maurice, and have a
My
blessed
pleasure,
day,
Sachin.
everyone.
You too, brother.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of Dream Big and Think Different. We hope you enjoyed it. Please be sure to subscribe to our show so you don't miss any gold nuggets. And we'd appreciate it if you could rate and leave us a review on iTunes, Spotify, and other platforms. Until next time.